Last time, a human boy called Iruma had his soul sold to a demon called Sullivan and taken to the netherworld. Surprisingly, it turns out that living with Sullivan as his grandpa is a lot better than living with his abusive and cruel parents, and he starts enjoying it. Enrolling into a demon school called Babbles, Iruma finds new friends and soon becomes famous for the many amazing things he either achieved with hard work or did accidentally. However, he is scared that someone is going to find out he is a human because demons eat humans. Iruma's next challenge will be surviving the Rookie Hunt, an event where overly eager senior students try to recruit freshmen into their battlers, which are the demon version of normal school clubs. Iruma is interested in joining a battler, but the Rookie Hunt turns out to be more intense than I thought. A huge number of seniors storm into the school looking for first years. Luckily, Asmodeus manages to protect Iruma and Clara from the flood of recruiters. The Rookie Hunt is only allowed for 66 minutes on one day of the year, which is why the students are so aggressive. Suddenly, Amelie and the rest of the student council arrive and calm down the seniors. Realizing Amelie is the student council president, Iruma is surprised. Amelie approaches Iruma and nervously invites him to check out the student council, which is actually also a battler he can join. Once the Rookie Hunt ends, everyone returns to their classrooms. During the next 3 days, the first years will be able to join a battler of their choice. Motivated, Iruma, Clara, and Asmodeus decide go to the Battler Tower and check out the available battlers. At the crowded tower, they meet 3 other students from the Misfits class. A carefree student called Lead wants to join the Game Battler, and another student called Jazz wants to join the New Magic Battler, where he can learn new spells and alchemy techniques. The third one, a perverted student called Kame, wants to join the Ladies' Studies Battler, but that one doesn't exist at all. Out of nowhere, Iruma's ring starts glowing and an invisible force starts dragging him through the school at high speed. He ends up colliding with a glasses-wearing student who starts coughing up blood to Iruma's horror. However, the student tells him it's nothing to worry about because he has a frail body and it happens all the time. Seeing Iruma's ring, he notices it's made of the same metal as the pendant on his necklace, which is why the two objects attracted each other. While Iruma helps the student pick up his things, some freshmen approach the weak students and bully him. He's a third-year student, but he doesn't have much magic power, and he's only rank bet, just like Iruma. Because of this, he is always storing up magic in the pendant he's wearing. He reveals that his ambition is creating a magical apparatus that will make demons who can't use magic will become able to use spells. After that, the student walks away and leaves Iruma impressed. Once Asmodeus and Clara find Iruma, the 3 of them visit different battlers such as the demonic botany battler that studies plants or the library battler which researches and translates books. Visiting the Demon King battler, they come across Sabro there. Even though the battler's activities don't seem very exciting since they're just researching old documents about the former Demon Kings, Sabro is more than happy to join. Iruma and his friends also visit the succubus battler and Clara wants to join it, but Asmodeus drags her away, telling her she's not cut out for it. In the meantime, Kame established a ladies' studies battler, but nobody wants to join it. After school, Sullivan modifies Iruma's ring so he can adjust its magic output and safely use both weak and strong magic. He also advises chanting Pandarula if he finds himself in trouble. Doing it, he will unleash all the magic in the ring at once, setting it to maximum output. The next morning, Iruma and his friends continue visiting different battlers. While Asmodeus and Clara run off to buy some drinks, Iruma is startled by a loud explosion nearby. It turns out the glasses-wearing student Iruma met the day before caused the explosion while experimenting in the magical apparatus battler. Meanwhile, Amelie has the student council room decorated with ornaments she saw in First Love Memories, hoping to impress Iruma when he visits. At the magical apparatus battler, Iruma ends up helping the glasses-wearing student get better. Because of this, he messages Amelie to tell her that he won't be able to visit her, making her think he's afraid of her because he found out she's the student council president. The weak student introduces himself as Kirio Amy and tells Iruma he's the only member of the magical apparatus battler. In that battler, magical apparatuses are studied and sometimes new ones are created. Kirio shows Iruma different devices such as a magic lamp and small paper dolls that can be controlled using magic. He can barely demonstrate how they work since he overexerts himself trying to channel even a little magic into them. He shows Iruma he's working on a machine that's supposed to enhance his own magic. Finding pieces of the machine's exploded battery on the floor, Iruma manages to put it back together in the blink of an eye. Getting excited about Iruma's skill, Kirio once again coughs up blood and collapses. Once Kirio calms down, Iruma tells him he has been building and fixing things ever since he was little. In order to survive, he had to fix broken appliances he found lying around. Returning the battery Iruma fixed into his machine, Kiryu activates it successfully. Putting the magic lamp he could barely use before onto the machine, he channels magic into it and manages to make it shine brightly. He reveals his final goal is achieving equality among demons by making the weaker demons with low magic power able to go head-to-head with the stronger ones. Iruma thinks it's a great idea and asks Kiryu if he would let him into the battler even if he didn't have any magic. Kiryu tells him that if that was true, they would be exactly alike. Besides, he would want Iruma's talent for putting things together and not his magic power. Thinking he finally found someone similar to him, Iruma is overjoyed. The next day, having told them all about the magical apparatus battler, Iruma visits Kiryu together with Asmodeus and Clara. The three of them tell Kiryu they want to join his battler and he accepts them, collapsing from getting too excited. Later, Iruma finally visits Emily, who is depressed because she thought he's afraid of her. She cheers up when Iruma praises her decorations and recognizes they're inspired by first love memories. When he tells her he joined the magical apparatus battler, Emily is shocked, having hoped he would join the student council. Sometime later, Opera tells Iruma about a battler party that's going to be held soon. It's an event where battlers demonstrate their activities to the first years and their parents. Iruma notices it's just like Parents' Day in human schools. Meanwhile, Sullivan is at the 13's dinner, a meeting of the 13 Crowns, who are the greatest heroes of the Netherworld. On the 665th floor of a tower called Babel, the 13 Crowns are gathered. Among them, there's also Amelie's father, Henry, who is the chief of Demon Border Control and Security. The Crowns are discussing problems such as the overhunting of food in the Netherworld, the problems with illegal trading of goods and high-ranked demons illegally crossing borders. Because there's currently no demon king, the order in the Netherworld has been crumbling. The candidates for the next king are Sullivan and two other demons called Belial and Lady Levi, who are together known as the Three Greats. Among them, only Sullivan still hasn't achieved the highest demon rank, Yod. For a long time, the 13 Crowns haven't been able to decide who among the Three Greats should become the new demon king. Laughing at them, a crude demon called Baal says that nothing is ever decided on their meetings. Getting angry at him, a wolf-like demon called Amaimon starts a fight, while the others take a break. Meanwhile, on the 666th floor of Babel, the Three Greats are having their own meeting. However, instead of talking about important issues, Belial and Lady Levi compete about whose grandchild is the best. Acting smugly, Sullivan reveals he has a grandson now too. The other two are confused, since Sullivan doesn't even have a son, but they accept it. Hearing the 13 Crowns arguing on the floor beneath them, they half-heartedly start talking about the next demon king. Belial and Levi think Sullivan should raise his rank to Yod and become the demon king, but Sullivan doesn't want to give up on being the principal of Babels and watching his grandson grow up. The other two understand him, and they come to no conclusion as usual. Suddenly, Henry arrives and tells Sullivan he has been accused of illegally crossing into the human world and kidnapping a human. While he's being questioned, Sullivan calls Opera and Iruma to tell them what happened and says there's something suspicious about it. Before he hangs up, he promises Iruma he will be back in time for the battler party, so he can spend it with him. There are a few days left before the battler party, and the students of the Misfits class are nervous because their parents are going to visit them. Since he never went to school in the human world, Iruma wonders what a parent's day with Sullivan as his grandparent would be like. At the teacher's office, Caligo finds out that Sullivan has appointed him as the substitute principal until he returns. Hearing this, Caligo is mad because he's already very busy with the battler party. He wonders why the Demon Border Control would arrest Sullivan just before the battler party, thinking something's not right. He tells the others to keep their guard up on the day of the battler party. At the magical apparatus battler, Iruma and his friends are talking about the battler party. For some reason, Asmodeus wants to stop his mother from coming at any cost. Joining the conversation, Kiryu tells them his parents didn't come to his battler party since he doesn't have a very good relationship with them, so his upperclassmen came in their place. Hearing this, Iruma feels like him and Kiryu are even closer than he thought, since they both have bad relationships with their parents. Just then, Kiryu gets a call from his upperclassmen, and a loud, rude man's voice is heard ordering him to start preparing his presentation for the battler party. Going out to the schoolyard, Kiryu, Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara see all the students preparing their battler party presentations. Everyone is working hard because the best presentations will get prizes. Unfortunately, it turns out the magical apparatus battler's presentation space is much smaller than the other battlers, since it's not very popular. Last year, Kiryu put out a bunch of magical devices on display, but they didn't look very interesting and everyone made fun of his presentation, saying it looks like a storage space. When Asmodeus says he hopes he can use his fire magic to help and Clara says she wants the presentation to be flashy and bombastic, Iruma comes up with the idea of a fireworks show. Since fireworks don't exist in the netherworld, Iruma explains what they are and his friends are interested. They stay at school overnight so they can experiment with the fireworks. Kiryu reveals that his bloodline ability is creating invisible barriers, which is how he was able to survive all those explosions. While thinking of ways to show the others what fireworks are supposed to look like, Iruma gets an idea. He visits Emily in her office and asks her to borrow a volume of First Love Memories where a fireworks scene is drawn. However, it's impossible since those comics are forbidden texts she received from her father. When Emily realizes Iruma wants to make real fireworks for his Battler presentation, she wants to see them so badly that she gives Iruma the volume anyway, badly pretending she forgot it on the table. Having seen the drawings of fireworks, Iruma and his friends work all night to come up with a way to replicate them using gunpowder and Asmodeus's fire magic. Testing their creation, they're happy with how it turned out, even though the explosion is still too small. Satisfied with the night's results, they prepare to go to sleep, but Clara still wants to stay up and have a sleepover. Going along with it, everyone participates in an intense pillow fight. After they play to their heart's content, Kiryu tells everyone how happy he is because they joined his Battler. Suddenly, his phone rings and he goes outside to pick it up. The person on the line turns out to be none other than Ball, the rowdy member of the 13 Crowns. We find out Ball wants to destroy Babbles and that he told Henry that Sullivan kidnapped a human. Taking off his glasses and slicking his hair back, Kiryu turns out to be his partner in crime. The next day, the students are shown a video introducing the Battler party to them. The event is split into 3 days: the party eve, the party day, and the closing spectacular. The event is held in the school's front garden and central plaza, and all students from all grades are allowed to participate. The 3 battlers that put on the best presentation will win fantastic prizes. The 3rd place will receive a luxurious battler room, the 2nd place will get their budget increased, and the 1st place's battler's president will go up 2 ranks, while the rest of its members will go up 1 rank. At the magical apparatus battler's presentation spot, the preparations are all done. Even when some students make fun of them, Iruma and the others act smug, knowing they will be impressed once they see the beautiful fireworks. Having told the others he has to prepare something by himself, Kiryu enters a secret room inside the school. He plans to execute Ball's plan after the countdown, signaling the end of the party eve and the beginning of the party day, when a lot of students are going to be in the central plaza. Ball wants to strike at a time where he can kill the most students possible. Their plan also has something to do with Kiryu's magic enhancement machine, which is more than it seems, since Iruma and his friends accidentally helped him perfect his machine. Kiryu thinks meeting Iruma was an act of fate. While he's tinkering with the machine, Iruma suddenly enters the room, surprising him. A minute before that, Iruma was looking for Kiryu, when his ring pulled him towards the secret room. Kiryu reveals to Iruma that his upperclassmen showed him the room they're in. The magical apparatus battler used to make all kinds of strange devices that would get them in trouble if they were found, so they were secretly constructing them in that room. Pulling a rope, Kiryu reveals a huge window overlooking the school's plaza. He shows Iruma that one of the towers contains a large bell called the Bell of Ceremonies, which is rung to mark the end of the party eve and the beginning of the party day. The window panel they're looking through is made of special glass that makes it impossible for anyone outside to see or hear them. Kiryu likes looking out the window because everyone looks the same from that height and you can't tell the difference between their ranks. He tells Iruma that he's different from the other students and that he's glad to have met him. Iruma is happy to hear that and even feels he'll be able to tell Kiryu he's a human one day. Changing the subject, Iruma tells Kiryu he's looking forward to their presentation. He tells him they should aim for the grand prize, but Kiryu doesn't think they can win it. However, Iruma insists that they should win it and surprise everyone. He wants to show everyone how hard Kiryu has been working and get him closer to his goal of making everyone equal. Hearing this, Kiryu is touched and tells Iruma the two of them really are the same. The night before the battler party, everyone continues doing their best. Before Asmodeus leaves his home the next morning, his butler tells him his mother can't wait to come to the battler party. Terrified, Asmodeus tells him he has to stop her at any cost. Before Iruma leaves for school, Opera tells him that Sullivan will definitely come to the battler party because he always keeps his promises. Arriving at Babel's, Iruma tells Asmodeus and Clara about this intention to get the grand prize, and they all get fired up. The party eve finally begins, and the school grounds are lively with students visiting various stands and attractions. Since their fireworks show begins after sundown, Iruma and his friends decide to check out the other battlers' presentations. While they're scouting, Kiryu goes somewhere, telling them he's going to rest up before the show. Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara look around and come across Sabro, who's convinced his battler is going to win the grand award. Their presentation is going to be a play where Sabro is playing the Demon King. Suddenly, the other misfits appear. In the end, Jazz really joined the new magic battler, and their presentation is going to include producing water from a rock using a new spell they came up with. Lead and his game battler are going to let visitors experience a virtual reality game using a virtual sorcery hat. There is also an underwater circus, magic beast battles, and various other attractive presentations. Returning to their spot, Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara review their plan. At the countdown to the party day, the moment the bell of ceremony starts ringing, they will launch their fireworks. First a big one, and then several smaller ones. While Asmodeus insists Iruma lights the fireworks at their presentation, Clara misunderstands something and lights the fuse to the fireworks. They start panicking when they realize the fuse can't be extinguished, but in the end, nothing happens. Surprisingly, there is no shell in the launch pad, even though one should be in there. It turns out Kirio took the shell and took it to his secret room, preparing to do something with it. Meanwhile, Sullivan is playing chess with one of his guards while still waiting for his verdict. We find out Thathenry got the incriminating information about Sullivan from Bull. At the festival, Iruma and his friends are running around looking for Kirio, but they can't find him anywhere. Asmodeus thinks Kirio ran away with the fireworks shell, but Iruma doesn't agree, deciding to trust Kirio. In the end, they just decide to wait for him. At dusk, while everyone is having fun at the festival, Kirio breaks the pendant on his necklace and unleashes all the magic stored inside. Suddenly, a huge number of invisible barriers appear both inside and outside the school, separating everyone and causing a panic. Iruma also ends up separated from Asmodeus and Clara. He remembers that Kirio's bloodline ability is creating barriers exactly like the ones that appeared. All over the school, the students are confused, bumping into the barriers. In the student council room, Emily encourages the members of the student council and orders them to go make sure all the students are safe. Somewhere else inside the school, Robin and Caligo are trying to break down the barriers. Caligo summons his familiar, a huge three-headed dog called Cerberobith, and manages to destroy one of the barriers. However, the barrier quickly repairs himself, making Caligo conclude that only the highest-ranked demons could break such powerful magic. He thinks someone intentionally had Sullivan arrested because they didn't want him to be at Babel's to help destroy the barriers. He tells Robin to come with him, and they advance forward, destroying the barriers that repair themselves after them. When Robin says the barriers could be part of some kind of surprise, Caligo gets an idea and contacts a teacher called Dolly. To calm the confused students down, using the broadcast battler's loudspeakers, Dalla makes an announcement. He tells everyone that the barriers are actually part of a maze game held by the new magic battler and the game battler. In order to gather all the students in one place safely, he tells them the game's goal is reaching the central plaza. Caligo contacts all the teachers using telepathy and orders most of them to lead the students to the plaza, while the others determine what's going on. Meanwhile, Caligo and Robin enter the school's warehouse, which is full of records about Babel's and the students there. After a while, most of the students arrive at the central plaza having fun and thinking everything's just a game. However, Amelie suspects there is something wrong. A female teacher called Morax reports to Caligo that she found out leaving or entering the school is completely impossible, and Dolly tells him it's impossible to contact anyone outside the school grounds. Looking through a book, finds Kirio's record, noticing it says he has an ability that enables him to create invisible barriers. In his secret room, Kirio is watching where all the students are going and changing the position of his barriers to guide them to the plaza. He intends to blow everyone up as soon as they gather at the plaza and eagerly awaits that moment. It turns out the machine he told Iruma was supposed to enhance one's magic is actually intended to destroy the school. Taking the fireworks shell he stole, he inserts it into the machine. The ball starts glowing, but he's suddenly interrupted, noticing that someone is speedily heading towards his secret room. Kirio realizes it's Iruma, but doesn't understand how Iruma is tracking him if he broke his magic pendant. Sometime before that, Iruma and his friends realize that Kirio created the barriers. Asmodeus and Clara try attacking them, but they can't even scratch them. Asmodeus realizes Kirio must have been gathering magic and preparing this plan for years. Suddenly, Iruma tells his friends he knows where Kirio could be and asks them for help. Asmodeus draws a diagram of the area they're in right now, thinking they should find all the barriers and mark them. Clara figures out a way to do that efficiently. Since she has seen the tiny magic paper dolls in the magical apparatus battler room, she reproduces a lot of them using her bloodline ability. Asmodeus then channels magic into the dolls and orders them to find all the barriers in the school. He can sense his magic in the dolls, so he knows where they are at all times. While Iruma hurries towards Kirio, Asmodeus uses telepathy to tell him where to go. Meanwhile, Caligo contacts the teachers and orders them to look for Kirio Emi. The party eve is coming to a close and the bell of ceremonies is going to ring soon. Iruma reaches the secret room and Kirio lets him in, acting as he always does. Kirio admits that he is the one who stole the fireworks shell and made the barriers appear. With a smile on his face, he shows Iruma his machine and tells him he's going to make it explode and destroy the school. Shocked, Iruma asks him why he would do it and Kirio tells him he will have to tell him the story of his life for him to understand. Kirio's family, the Eme clan, is known as one of the most famous clans in the Netherworld, known for having an abundance of magical power. However, Kirio was born with barely any magic, making his clan ashamed of him. Even his own mother pushed him away and sent him to the Garden of Delinquents, a correctional elementary school. There he was beaten and bullied for being unable to use much magic. There was only one girl who was nice to him. Just like him, she wasn't very good at magic, and they spent a lot of time having fun together. She was the only person who had anything nice to say about him, and she would compliment his horns, thinking they were pretty. One day, a group of bullies took the girl's earrings, which was a memento of her grandpa. One of the bullies threw the earring towards the river, telling Kirio and the girl that they can't do anything about it because they're so weak. However, Kirio managed to stop the earring from falling using a barrier. When the girl saw it, she was happy, but the next moment Kirio lost focus, which made the barrier crumble. When the earring fell into the river after all, the girl's disappointment was obvious. Sometime later, she left the garden. Seeing how defeated and disappointed the girl looked made something awaken in Kirio. His whole life, whenever someone looked at him with a face full of despair, his chest would tense up and he wouldn't understand why. However, when he saw the girl's hopeless expression, he realized what that feeling was. From then on, other people's misery made him feel pleasure and his reason for living became the despair of others. Seeing how insane Kirio is, Iruma realized for the first time in a while that he's a human in a world of demons. Kirio continues his story about the past. At a past battler party, Kirio snuck into the magical apparatus battler room, having heard that they're a notorious battler. The other demons there were annoyed and then disgusted with him, seeing how he enjoys being treated badly. At the time, Bale was a member of the battler, and he heard the commotion. Kirio said he was looking for comrades, but he knew there was something wrong with him. He told everyone how he gave one of his horns to the girl who lost her earring and how she was absolutely disgusted by him. He felt good when he saw her expression, but he knows that's not normal. Having heard that, Ball joined in and told him there's no reason to consider those feelings abnormal. He completely understood Jim since all demons used to be like that. The Netherworld went from being full of screams and wars to a warm and pleasant place, which Bull is disgusted with. His ambition is returning the Netherworld to its original state of chaos together with his comrades from the magical apparatus battler. Giving him a glass of special wine, Bull invited Kirio to join the battler and help him fulfill his goal. He says that if he joined him, he'll be able to see ultimate despair. Thrilled, Kirio decided to join him, and from then on, Bull started teaching him about how demons used to be. One day, after Kirio enrolled into Bael's, Bale told him he wants to get rid of the demons' ranks that give order to the Netherworld. If they erase that rank system, the Netherworld would fall into chaos, so that's why they came up with a plan. In the present, Kirio can't wait to see the students' happy expressions turn into panic and despair. He didn't stop Iruma from coming to his secret room because he wants to see his face when his friends die. He's trembling with anticipation, but Iruma shows no signs of distress, which surprises and angers him. Iruma tells him he's not feeling hopeless because nothing good comes out of despair. Since he has been through a lot ever since he was born, he's used to being disappointed. This is why he wants to take things in his own hands and change every hopeless situation he finds himself in. All this time, Kirio thought Iruma and him were alike, but now he realizes he's wrong. Iruma is actually his natural enemy, someone who refuses to bow down to despair. Climbing on top of some boxes, Iruma takes the white-hot fireworks shell, burning his hands. Kirio tells him there's no way to stop the explosion, but Iruma still refuses to give up. There's 40 seconds left before the bell rings and the students outside are getting excited. Refusing to give up on his fireworks show, Iruma jumps out the window, sets his ring to the highest setting and shouts Libera, summoning a huge dragon that launches the fireworks shell high up into the sky. However, the dragon is stopped by Kirio's barrier. Iruma shouts Pandarula, the spell that Sullivan told him to chant only when he's in trouble. All the magic from Iruma's ring explodes, strengthening the dragon so much that it finally breaks through the barrier. The shell explodes high in the sky, forming a beautiful firework and capturing the attention of all the students. Before he falls to the ground, Kirio saves Iruma, who has fainted from the shock, by making a barrier underneath him. Kirio is frustrated and angry at Iruma for destroying his plans, but at the same time he's impressed and admits his defeat. We find out that before the fireworks went off, Caligo and Robin climb onto the rooftop. Robin's bloodline ability, Bullseye Shot, enables him to shoot an arrow that always hits its target no matter what, so he shot an arrow with a message into the room where Sullivan was being held. Having read the message, Sullivan immediately headed towards Babel's, without regard for his guards. He arrived at Babel's just when the firework exploded and thousands of meteors started raining at the students standing in the plaza. The students had no idea about this, but Sullivan used a spell to stop time and then redirect all the meteors so that none of them hit anyone. After that, together with the teachers, he captured Kirio, who went with them without any resistance. Kirio lied to them that he didn't have any accomplices and that he planned all of it by himself. However, he isn't completely dissatisfied since he was able to see his own hopeless expression in one of the shards of his broken barrier at the moment his plans were ruined. Before he was taken away by the Demon Border Patrol, he told Sullivan to tell Iruma he had fun with him and he wants to play with him again sometime. In the present, Iruma is woken up by Sullivan, unable to move his body because he used so much magic at once. Carrying him on his shoulders, Sullivan tells Iruma he is proud of him and takes him to the window facing the plaza. Seeing Iruma, all the students applaud, delighted and surprised by his incredible fireworks show. Emily approaches him and tells him the fireworks were splendid, even though she wanted to watch them with him. Iruma proudly announces to everyone that he's part of the magical apparatus battler and that the fireworks were the result of the hard work of Asmodeus, Clara, Kirio, and him. Rejoining Asmodeus and Clara, Iruma is happy everything went well in the end. Even though Kirio turned out to be a terrifying demon, he still had fun with him while it lasted. As the party day begins, everything is lively and everyone's parents start arriving. The students can also start voting for their favorite battler presentation. Clara's family arrives and Asmodeus and Iruma are surprised at how big and lively they are. Clara ends up running off with them to check out the festival. Just when they leave, Asmodeus' mother appears, even though he didn't want her to come because he's embarrassed of her. She introduces herself to Iruma as Amaryllis, one of the 13 crowns. She immediately starts charming Iruma since she is a succubus, but Asmodeus quickly drags her away with him. Left alone, Iruma feels jealous of the others' families. At that moment, Sullivan appears and reminds him he promised to spend the festival with him. Together with Opera, the two watch the Demon King Battler's performance and meet Sabro's little sister Sylvia. They visit various talls and Opera ends up winning the grand prizes on every game he tries out. When night falls, Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara fire off more fireworks, impressing everyone once again. It turns out this is the first time Sullivan was able to participate in a battler party instead of working, and he's happy he got to enjoy it with his grandson. Iruma is also happy that he is able to spend time with his new family, and they take a picture together. At the end of the battler party, the award ceremony for the best battler presentation starts. It turns out the presenter for it is Emily. The succubus battler gets third place, and with it a luxurious new club room. The new magic battler gets second place and an increased budget for research supplies. Finally, the grand prize is awarded to the broadcast battler, to everyone's surprise. The broadcast battler got the award for broadcasting non-stop for 2 days and improving the overall battler party, and their members all rank up. It turns out a lot of the students thought that the magical apparatus battler would get the grand prize, and Iruma and his friends are happy to hear that. Suddenly, Caligo takes the microphone. He says that there is one battler whose members put themselves in danger without even telling anyone and got a lot of attention for it. This is why they're adding a tricky award this year that will raise the rank of one member of the winning battler. The winner of the tricky award turns out to be the magical apparatus battler, and both Clara and Asmodeus agree Iruma should receive the trophy. Caligo is angry at Iruma for taking so many risks during the crisis with Kirio, but he is still proud of him and tells him he should rely on his teachers more. Iruma's rank rises to Jaimel and everyone cheers for him. Iruma thinks Kirio should have ranked up instead of him, but decides to take good care of his new rank badge anyway. After the ceremony, Sullivan congratulates Iruma on his award. At that moment, Iruma realizes that he is suddenly standing out more than ever, even though he wanted to stay inconspicuous. In the distance, Henry is observing him. In the following days, Iruma is more popular than ever to his horror. He's still afraid that the demons will become his enemies and eat him if they find out he's human. Later, he meets up with Emily. She tells him she's among the rare people who know what really happened at the battler party and thanks him for saving everyone. However, she wants them to make up for all the times they couldn't read first love memories together, so Iruma starts reading immediately. Suddenly, Emily sees her father out of the window. Surprised, she apologizes to Iruma and goes outside to talk to him. Leaving the room, Iruma walks around the school. Suddenly, Henry appears behind him and tells him they need to talk. Back when Sullivan escaped Henry's custody, he told him he promised Iruma he would be at the Battler party. Because of Sullivan's obsession with Iruma, Henry wants to find out more about him and he thinks he's the kidnapped human boy. Since Iruma doesn't seem to be harmed, Henry decides not to take him with him. However, if he shows any signs of wanting help, he wants to help him immediately. Henry starts telling Iruma he has met a human before and captured him. After that, he sent his upper half to a research laboratory and ate his lower half with his colleagues. Iruma is absolutely terrified, but Henry says he's just kidding. He says that if a human was found in the netherworld, he would be in danger since there are demons like Kirio there. This is why he sent home the human he found. Henry starts telling Iruma he can talk to him if he needs help, but Emily appears and interrupts him. When Iruma finds out Henry is Emily's father, he's surprised. Emily tells Henry that Iruma is an outstanding demon and that they have tea alone from time to time. Hearing this, Henry is concerned because it seems to him that his daughter is seeing a boy. Seeing his reaction, Emily realizes she needs to make an excuse, but she can't admit they're reading forbidden texts, so she tells him they talk about love and their futures. Shocked, Henry thinks she wants to marry Iruma and lashes out at him, so Emily drags him away. Asmodeus and Clara then appear and say they don't know what exactly happened with Kirio, but that they're here for Iruma if he needs them. Hearing this, Iruma remembers there was a time he wanted to return to the human world, but now he doesn't want to anymore since he found friends and a family in the netherworld. Sometime else, at a huge venue, a beautiful idol singer prepares to hold a concert in front of thousands of people. As school continues as usual, Iruma once again ends up in the newspaper for his latest achievements. His article is even bigger than an article about Kuromu, one of the most popular demon idol singers or demdolls. When Iruma says he doesn't know who she is or what demdolls are, Lead is shocked. Since demons have stress periods called evil cycles in which they want to do evil things, there are various forms of entertainment like sports and video games so they can relieve their stress. Demdolls are one of the most efficient types of entertainment since they can pacify many demons at once with their concerts and turn evil thoughts into excitement. It turns out Kuromu's latest concert is held that very day in a huge concert hall, but the tickets were sold out instantly. Suddenly, Iruma gets called into the broadcast room. He goes there and Asmodeus and Clara follow him. Meanwhile, at the concert hall, Kuromu prepares for her upcoming performance. In front of the crew, she acts excited and ready. Going backstage, she takes off her wig and puts on a pair of glasses, revealing herself to be one of the students from the Misfits class called Kurori. When she's not acting as Kuromu, she's a shy and timid girl. She is still not used to being a demdoll and she's actually embarrassed and nervous. However, she knows she's incredibly cute, which is why she doesn't give up from being a demdoll. When she was little, her siblings were always better at everything, and she never stood out in her family. One day, she realized that everywhere she went, people would stop and look in awe at her because she's so cute. Everyone who would see her would be nice to her and help her. Back then, she realized she has the talent to counter malice and violence with her cuteness. She decided to become a demdoll and show her family she can stand out too. However, once Iruma appeared at Babel's, he started standing out more than her and kept taking newspaper headlines from her. Thinking about Iruma, she starts getting angry and unconsciously freezing everything around her with her bloodline ability. Noticing, her manager tells her to stop because someone is going to figure out who she is. Once her manager tells her concert is starting soon, Kurori calms down. When she gets up on the stage, everyone starts cheering for he. Even the students of the Misfits class watch her live stream in the classroom. Suddenly, she sees Iruma in the audience. It turns out Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara got tickets to Kuromu's concert from the broadcasting battler. After they won the grand prize at the battler party, they were called in to help with the concert, so they didn't need the tickets anymore. Because they thought Iruma and his friends should have won the grand prize, they give the tickets to them. After enjoying Kuromu's performance, Iruma and his friends prepare to leave, but they're stopped by a staff member who tells Iruma he has been chosen to go backstage and meet Kuromu herself. When Iruma arrives backstage to meet her, Kurori is furious, but she doesn't show it. She unconsciously activates her ice abilities once again, but excuses herself by saying the air conditioner is broken. While they're talking, Kurori keeps accidentally doing and saying things that expose her as being Iruma's classmate, and she desperately tries to hide them. When it's time for Iruma to leave, he accidentally tells her they'll see each other at school and Kurori stops him. Not letting him leave, she starts panicking, not knowing what to do. It turns out Iruma figured out who she was because he noticed the way she's holding her hands was the same at school and at her concert. Besides, he also picked up on all the other ways she exposed herself earlier, such as leaving her glasses on her desk. It turns out the glasses she's always wearing are super detection warding glasses, which should conceal her presence from any and all demons. Iruma suddenly tells her he's jealous of her. She says it's amazing how she doesn't stand out at all, when he always ends up standing out even though he doesn't want to. Hearing that Iruma gets so much attention without even trying, while she's always doing her very best to stand out, Karori gets furious and creates a blizzard. Suddenly, she collapses on the floor with a fever, having overexerted herself. Kuromu's manager arrives to see what the commotion is about and is surprised to see Karori with a fever. She explains to Iruma that whenever Karori gets too emotional or uses too much ice magic, she's prone to collapsing and getting a fever. Now Karori can't perform, even though her concert is soon and her fans are lined up outside the venue. There is also a huge number of sponsors waiting to see her perform. She can't even see a regular doctor, since only a highly skilled doctor or her family can help with her condition. However, they live too far to arrive quickly. Suddenly, Karori wakes up, still feverish. She wants to perform, but her manager doesn't let her. Karori tells Iruma that her bloodline ability, Ice Facade, enables her to control the temperature of water. Her family is famous for controlling ice, but also for wearing icy expressions and never smiling. She didn't smile either when she was little, but one day her grandmother showed her dem dolls on TV, melting her icy feelings. Realizing that demons could smile and be happy, she decided to become a famous dem doll and get back in her family. After she finishes her story, she faints once again. Iruma wants to help somehow, but Karori's manager tells her he can't do anything. Outside, Karori's fans are rioting because they can't get in. However, they are suddenly let inside. Amelie also finds herself there, having received a ticket from her father. She has never seen a dem doll show before. At the concert venue, Kuromu's fans are calling her name and there's only a little time left before the start of her concert. Backstage, Karori wakes up once again, but nobody else is in the room. Realizing her performance should already have started, she imagines her fans being disappointed. She starts crying, thinking she's a failure. To her surprise, she hears cheering in the distance. Exhausted from her fever, she slowly moves towards the sound and finds her manager, who is amazed by something happening on stage. Somehow, it turns out Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara are holding a performance dressed as dem dolls, while the audience is cheering loudly. Sometime earlier, Iruma approached Asmodeus and Clara and told them he wants to help Kuromu. Together, they approach Kuromu's manager, offering to do an opening act for her. The manager says they would need a cute amateurish high schooler to replace Kuromu, and Clara smugly says they can just make one. Taking some girlish clothes from her pockets, Clara forces Iruma and Asmodeus into them. In the end, she manages to make the two of them look cute, and all three get on stage to appease the raging fans. Asmodeus and Iruma are really embarrassed, but Clara is lively as always and introduces their act to Sarumi and her merry band of friends, consisting of Irumi, Clarin, and Alice. However, the audience isn't convinced and wants to see Kuromu. When Clara and the others introduce themselves and get more and more into their roles of dem dolls, the audience starts warming up to them until they become extremely excited. Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara start doing stunts on stage and throwing candy into the audience, making the crowd goes wild. Watching all this, Karori realizes Iruma really doesn't want to stand out, but he always ends up standing out for the sake of others. Suddenly, having gotten better, she spectacularly appears on stage as Kuromu. She thanks Iruma and the others with all her heart. However, when Iruma prepares to leave, she makes him take responsibility and sing with her, while Asmodeus is doing the lighting effects with his flames and Clara is playing the drums. Karori, together with Iruma, Asmodeus, and Clara, hold a spectacular performance which is a huge success. After the show, everyone is satisfied. It turns out that Karori's family arrived at some point and healed Karori, after which she was able to join Iruma on stage. However, they left as soon as they did that. Her mother left Karori a message telling her to take care of herself, and she told her manager they were watching Karori. Reading it, Karori is overjoyed and realizes her family cares about her. What the manager didn't tell Karori is that her family stay at the concert only because they would get so excited they would pass out, so cheered her on from home as always. Even though the show was a success, Karori is a little frustrated because she helped Iruma stand out even more. The next day at school, Karori is angry because Irumi appeared on the front page of the newspaper. However, she still wants to keep being friends with Iruma. After the dem doll incident, everything returns to normal. Iruma wakes up, has breakfast, and goes to school with his best friends. After class, he meets up with Amelie for a reading session. Suddenly, Amelie remembers the dem doll concert she saw the other day and realizes the dem doll called Irumi looks a lot like Iruma. but convinces herself they can't be the same person. Returning home, Iruma reflects on the wonderful day he had and suddenly realizes just how much he has gotten used to living in the netherworld. The next day, thinking about it, he asks himself if it's really fine for him to stay in the netherworld, even though he's a human. Noticing Iruma is troubled and knowing he loves to eat, Asmodeus and Clara decide to make a meal for him to cheer him up. Using Asmodeus' credit card, they buy some supplies at the school store and go to the school's kitchen. Taking out her mother's cookbook, Clara suggests they make a dish called Muffle Waffle Crackle Bang, but Asmodeus has no idea what that is. He pretends to know, so he doesn't embarrass himself, but the recipe Clara shows him doesn't make any sense to him. In the end, it turns out to be simple fried chicken. While they're cooking, the two end up arguing. They decide to cook for Iruma separately and compete at whose dish will turn out more delicious. They each go to their homes and get to work. Clara is troubled because she doesn't think her food is going to be good enough, but her mother makes her realize the most important ingredient is love. In the end, the whole family ends up singing together and helping Clara cook. Meanwhile, Asmodeus makes a series of perfect dishes, but he doesn't think any of them are good enough and wants to make something truly special. His butler suggests he tries making a fish dish next, but it turns out he can't stand the smell of fish. Still, he does his best to conquer his fear and finish the dish. The next day, Asmodeus and Clara each bring a gigantic and extravagant meal for Iruma. Iruma is overjoyed because they both did their best just for him, and he tells them both their dishes are amazingly delicious. Asmodeus and Clara are happy, but they demand to know which dish is more delicious. While they're arguing, they accidentally stuff some of both dishes into Iruma's mouth, and it turns out the combination of their dishes is even more delicious than the dishes separately. Iruma gives both Asmodeus and Clara some of the combination, and they're amazed at how tasty it is. Seeing they manage to cheer Iruma up together, they make up. After all that, Iruma decides to continue his life in the netherworld, even though he's a human.